All right, guys, I don't usually do this, but 30-day challenge needs to be acknowledged. I'm about to end a 17-hour fast. And cold pizza. It's never tasted so good. Anytime I break my fast, everything I eat is just delicious.
That was me for the last 30 days. But how exactly did that happen? How did I get to the point where frozen pizza never tasted so good? Let's talk about that.
Intermittent fasting can be done in various ways, and I decided to try and do a form of it for 30 days. Whether it's 5-2 fasting, which is normal eating for 5 days and only eating 500 to 600 calories on the other 2 days, or it's time-restricted fasting, which is 14 to 16 hours off and 10 to 8 hours on, or it's overnight fasting, where you just don't eat for 12 hours, which is usually just 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., or it's whole day fasting, or OMAD, 1 meal a day.
There are a few different ways that you can intermittent fast, and for me, I decided to do time-restricted eating, and more specifically, the 16 hours off and 8 hours on method. So to start off with the positives of this challenge, it is insanely more simple for you to have 2 meals a day instead of 3 meals a day. So while intermittent fasting for me usually consisted of 2 real meals and then like a snack at like 10:30 or 11 before lunch. Honestly, it was pretty great to have that experience of I don't need to meal prep really for breakfast. I don't need to cook for breakfast. I don't have to worry about when people offer things to me in the morning. I just be like, nah, I'm good. And I can focus on my work basically until lunch. I don't really have to worry about getting interrupted by food. Now I have this guy who's at the coffee with me because the way that it works, I had to do some research on this guy, is basically if you have coffee, it's pretty much calorie free and you can have up to 50 calories of creamer in there without breaking the fast. So for me, I'd always put like maybe a tablespoon of like a 20 calorie creamer that was usually like non-dairy, some sort of coconut or oat milk sort of thing. And that would get me to not break my fast, but stave my hunger by drinking the coffee. But I always drink coffee in the morning anyway, so it's not really like I did anything different in that regard, but I just wouldn't add food to pair along with it.
There's a lot of time I'm gaining from having this extra time in the morning. Before this challenge, eating breakfast would take me anywhere from about 15 minutes to 1.5 hours, depending on how things would go. Basically, what I'm finding is that I'm saving 3 to 5 hours a week by not having breakfast, and to me, that's pretty amazing.
So I practice self-discipline on a daily basis in a lot of different ways. I have a lot of different habits that I'm trying to build. I'm somebody who is like, I'm finishing the things on my checklist, and I have pretty much cut out procrastination from my life. And as someone who has done that, I think it's pretty great to incorporate intermittent fasting on a daily basis because I'm disciplined enough pretty much 30% of the day to be like, yeah, I'm hungry, but I'm not going to eat.
As former Navy SEAL Jocko Willink and world record marathoner Eliud Kipchoge both love to talk about, discipline equals freedom. It gives them the freedom to have the time they want to do the things that impact them and the world. I truly believe that this is the same for me, and I'm happy to follow their advice.
Okay, so this is another thing. I honestly think I'm getting better mental clarity from intermittent fasting. I'm finding that I have more consistent energy and I just have a clear head when I'm not always fogged by that random crash that occurs after you eat food. And that, along with the fact that I'm doing a lot of meditation and journaling right now and reading, I'm doing a lot of things. So it's kind of hard to know, but from what I could tell in the last plus 30 days, which I'll get into, I honestly feel like I have better mental clarity from this lack of ebb and flow in my blood sugar levels because it doesn't ever have that post-morning crash.
By having less ups and downs in my blood sugar, I feel that I have better mental clarity and I keep all of my work at a consistent pace rather than having massive bursts of productivity and then extreme lulls.
So the negatives, I'm always hungry in the mornings. Like I'm like really hungry in the mornings.
As someone who wakes up at 5 a.m. 6 days out of the week and that eats dinner around 6 to 7 p.m., that puts me in a circumstance where I usually am awake for 5 to 6 hours before I can eat. And during that time frame, I am usually working on YouTube stuff or working out.
With that in mind, during that 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. window, you're going to have some hunger pangs if you're someone like me who's decided to be awake for that long before they're able to eat. And it's not preferable. That's not what you really want in the morning. What is interesting though is I've noticed if I get to around that like 10 a.m. mark, the hunger pangs just go away and I'm like not hungry. It's odd. I don't know how to describe it, but essentially I'll get to the point of being done with the fast and then I'm like, well, I guess I'm gonna eat and I'm glad to eat and it's gonna taste good, but I don't have the hunger pangs anymore, which has caused me to accidentally fast for 18 hours a few times. Another negative that I would say is you have some hunger pangs sometimes at night after you eat your dinner, because if you're like me, you have to eat dessert right after dinner now because intermittent fasting is a thing that restricts your time window. So you can be like, oh, this dessert would sound good. And then you realize, oh, I need to go to Culver's now and grab this dessert concrete mixer. If you're a Midwest person, you know what I'm talking about. But if you're being reasonable, like who's gonna go eat dessert at like 6:30? So then you don't sometimes.
This basically means you can't eat dessert at the normal time, which for me, even though I'm not much of a dessert person, it's just kind of a bummer.
So the verdict, I'm really liking it. Like I'm let me check my app real quick, but I am really liking it. I am 52 days in now, and it's pretty great.
For those of you that know me well, you know how much I enjoy saving time on things. And with this kind of lifestyle, I have so much more time than I did before. As much as I used to love having some amazing breakfast with the work I have nowadays, it's so much better for me to skip all of that and just keep working or switch to doing a quick workout and getting right back to working again.
This has really been a challenge that's impacted me in a lot of positive ways. I personally have found a lot of mental clarity, a lot of improved performance physically. I don't know, like I said, whether this has to do with the fact that I'm journaling and meditating and doing all this. However, the meditation happened like halfway through. I'm doing a lot of positive things, and that's great. I'm not trying to like virtue signal my oh, look at me, I'm doing like all my challenges at once. But I'm building habits, and I think this is one that's gonna stick for a while, as I have been doing it for nearly 2 months now. And I'm not doing it for the 30-day challenge like I sometimes do with other things, like Lord knows I'm not quitting this thing for more than the 30 days I did last summer. And this is like the first time outside of maybe journaling as well, where I've just straight up kept doing the challenge after the 30 days. Usually there's at least like a day or two off I give myself after a challenge. But with the reading, that was like the only other one that I consistently kept up after the challenge. And even then, there's been some lulls in that. And journaling, it took me months to find it again. So it's just crazy. I think this challenge has been probably the most impactful on me on a consistent basis, which is crazy to say because, I mean, we're at a lot of these. We're at double digits already, I think. So that being said, thank you guys so much for all of the support on the channel recently. It's been kind of crazy. I mean, I'm just going to be candid here and say the dip happened for me during like February months, January months, a little bit before that. And I'm finally back at where I was last summer regarding the metrics that I had on the channel. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I worked through something that was difficult, and I'm happy that I did it because this is something I really love to do. And I never should have been worried about the metrics in the first place. But for me, when you put so much work into something, it's like, yeah, you want to see some results. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for all of the support recently. I appreciate every single one of you. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.